Welcome to Leader Podcast, the ultimate destination for medtech insights, leadership inspiration, and the latest innovation. I'm Steph Pliha, founder of Tribe Agency and your host for Leader Podcast. Welcome to episode 16 of our special Dry January series on Leader Podcast, where we dive into AA, but it's a different kind of AA. It's AI and automation. I'm your host, Steph Pliha, joined by Spencer Jones. He's the CEO of Exo MedTech. We are here to explore innovative ways to integrate AI and automation into your business right now and for 2025. So let's get into it. So let's talk about automations. So that's the other part of the AA. And I think they go hand in hand. So I've just recently started really exploring ways that I can automate, because why this series became important to me as I'm entering into 2025, and I'm sure I'm not alone, is I realize I look at my calendar and even just look at my day, and there's priorities, things that I really need to have time to focus on. And then there's non-priorities, but they're urgent, things that are just things I have to do, but they're not priority to the business. They're not fun for me. They don't bring me joy, but they are just part of the job, right? And so anything like that, where it doesn't really require you to be one-to-one with it, you could educate it maybe once, you could set it up maybe once, and then let it run on its own. For instance, lead gen. No, that's not fun. So automating that process, even the prep for, your meetings, not fun, but it needs to be done. That's using AI and an automation together. What was the other one that onboarding. We have, clients that come on board all the time, and there's a lot that goes into establishing a new client. So from a med tech perspective, I'm trying to think of what would be synonymous with that. Onboarding new hires would be another part. So there are things that just, kind of think of it as an SOP automation. So you have a standard operating procedure for something, write it once, then put it into an automation funnel. And there are so many different apps. Like Spencer said, trust me, we have probably tried a quarter of them. I would not try to assume that we've even approached half, but we're definitely rapidly looking at what's out there. And there's a company called instantly.ai, which, by the way, have you looked into yet?
Instantly.ai.
Instantly.ai. It might put me out of business, but it's a lead gen for LinkedIn. I use Dripify, which is also an automation / quasi AI for LinkedIn. There's also LinkedIn Helper. I think it's called Linked Helper. They couldn't take the LinkedIn brand, but there's so many just around lead gen. And they do DM campaigns. They do email outreach campaigns. Instantly is a little bit more evolved. So that one, I'm actually about to sign up for. And maybe Linked Helper. And that Linked Helper would replace Dripify. But like the whole lane of lead gen could be automated, should be automated. And it's a matter of just knowing what you want to say. Obviously, it's not going to say it for you. But if you're having the same conversations, especially if you're just qualifying people or sending people to your calendar, there could be an entire funnel or automation to make that happen. You can now link your project management, like a Notion or an Asana, straight from there to a next step, or have it sent to your Google Docs, whether you're using Make or Zapier. I mean, there's so many things out there. It can almost be overwhelming. I think what we're going to try and do in this series, or at least my motivation, is to try a lot of it and give you guys our strong opinion on, okay, I've tried all of these things. Like, for instance, I did not have a good experience with Claude. I actually thought that their responses were very generic. And so I don't know. I mean, it's user preference. But I would say that there's a lot that do the same thing, but some of them are just better. They have better engineers behind it. They have better, like, there's a lot of apps out there right now, and a lot of like startups, people like in their basement where they barely have a degree, and they're writing these like AI machines. So it's the wild, wild west right now.
And I'll say this: I think the volume of inbound for everybody is going to only increase
Yes.
because, like you just called out like a number of different things. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, maximize your outreach. Hit millions of people with this message, whatever, right?
Yep.
Well, what's not really going to change is like good
People's
marketing and good
yeah.
copywriting and just like how it cuts through. Like I had a guy, I get a ton too, right? We all do on LinkedIn of like, hey, like, and it's so funny because I can tell it's like when they got the company name or the whatever,
Yeah.
like off some like bad list because it's like I haven't worked at that company in like 2 years or
Yeah.
3 years, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but like a guy hit me up today or yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, it's so and so from this." And it was his company name, and it was like barrel age something, and he was like, "I love whiskey." Then he just kept going. Then he said, "This is 100%." He goes, "I am 100% soliciting your business." And then he
I
just kept
actually
going.
prefer that.
I messaged back. I said, "Hey man, I'm like, don't have any projects like that going on, whatever."
Yeah.
But I said, "I like the hook, like the
Appreciate the
whiskey and the hundred
candor.
percent thing." Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But it was like, he probably sent that to a lot of people, and it's
Of
like the
course.
difference in good copy or bad copy is, 0.5% response rate or 3%, which is like winning and losing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So all
Yes.
that to say, I think like all these tools do, like especially on like some outreach stuff, like is give you leverage and volume, right? But
Yes.
it doesn't make you good at it, right?
No.
And it's going to kind of be always like we're chasing our tail here, because then you're like, oh well, I could just train the AI to be better at marketing, but then good marketing is already going to be ahead of you, right? Like
Exactly.
it's one of those things, so where it's kind of, and again, that goes back to why face to face, press the flesh, Zoom calls, Loom videos, video content, brand building, like all of those things matter a ton, because it's like everybody's going to be seeking the real. You know what I mean? They want the real. They
Yeah.
want the real thing.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think even having the wherewithal to know what's good on an answer and not like I
Yeah.
never take the first answer unless I'm in a huge rush and it's like a low priority. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time it's junk. And I actually insult it and say, you could do better than that. Or audit
Mm-hmm.
yourself. That's another great prompt. Audit yourself. Read back and see if that's exactly what I asked for. And also, is that the best you can do? And
Yeah.
they, I think, work off of that. Like they actually like to be
Yes.
kind of messed with a little bit. And it does force them, oh, you're right. I didn't include blah, blah, blah. Um, but yeah,
Yes.
so for me, I immediately see it's a hard no. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything that starts with unlocking or unleashing, 100% chatbot. Stop.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Stop. Okay, so
Can I?
here's yeah, go ahead. Hold on. One tip and then I'm going to hand it off to you. Here's a tip that I use constantly with AI. Whether you're building it into a campaign automation or you are just using it for a query, always tell it to use simple and common language. Always,
Oh yeah.
100% of the time. Simple and common language is all you want from that. Because otherwise, it's going to give you unleash, unlock, reveal,
Yes.
the traditional starters of all robotic conversations.
Yes.
And so, simple and common language, I stole from someone else. I don't remember who the source was, but it's very useful. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
No, no, that was really good. I mean, it leads into exactly what I was going to say. So, um, I again, part of what I want to do here is get people to start thinking about using an AI
Yep.
and LLMs, like not like you provide an input and you get your question answered and you just walk away. You
Right.
know what I mean? So someone was saying, or I saw this and they said this is a great bit of context, whether it's adding to just in a prompt or to adding it into project context. But it said, it was just this really nice thing. It was like, you are an assistant that engages in extremely thorough, self-questioning reasoning. Your approach mirrors human stream of consciousness thinking, characterized by continuous explanation, self-doubt, and iterative analysis. And then it's like core principles. It goes exploration over conclusion, depth of reasoning, thinking process, persistence, and then it gives a little bit of output format. But like, it's really coaching up and telling it to circle back and think more deeply and all these things. And he was basically just saying, like, he goes, you put this in your prompts, you will get like fundamentally better answers. Like almost like
100%.
like the difference between like a chat GBT, free model versus a paid model versus their, I think it's their O1, which is like $200 a month, right? Like, it's not like it is very, very much about how you ask the questions, right?
A
And what
hundred
context you
percent.
give it.
Yes. And in fact, on that note, I got this tip. I think you're aligned with me on this. I'm kind of obsessed with AI and automation right now. I'm going to crack the
Mm-hmm.
code. I'm one that like
Mm-hmm.
is a hammer looking for a nail most of the time. And this
Mm-hmm.
is the nail. So I am just constantly looking and trying to find ways to get better at this and beat
Mm-hmm.
everyone else to the punch because it will be mainstream at some point. It reminds me of the early days of robotic surgery where it was still considered like taboo and woohoo and no one really bought into
Yeah.
it. It's already well past that. It is established. It is here to stay until it
Yeah.
starts killing people and then they'll probably shut it down. But I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I learned from someone else, and this is what you have to do. You have to listen to podcasts like this. You have to do your own research, ask people how they use it. Spencer and I have had a ton of conversations on just how we use it, what we use,
Mm-hmm.
and just be open to these conversations because there's a lot out there that I still don't
Yeah.
know about, you don't know about. But one of the things that they'd said is if it's a complex problem that you're trying to solve, define the problem and then say, write a query or write a prompt that will
Yes.
help me get the best solution to that problem. So I did this with my business plan. I did this with my finances on the company. I described like I have a bottleneck here, or I'm spending
Yeah.
way too much time in these lanes. Here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Build a prompt for yourself that I am going to cut and paste back to you to give me the best response. And
Yeah.
I found that to be really productive. It's also helpful if you're building an AI agent, which we talked about a little bit, but we can get further into if we want to. But building these individual bots, meaning you're training it just for a specific role in your company,
Yeah.
it can help you train the bot. So you
Mm-hmm.
tell them, I want to build a marketing assistant, or I want to build a admin, executive assistant.
Yeah.
This is going to be their primary role. What do I need to train them on? What do I need to prompt? What's the prompt that I train them? And then they spit
Yeah.
out, here are all the different things. You're going to need to give them your brand kit. You're going to need to, whatever it is, the nuance of that role. And it can be very helpful in helping you work with ChatGPT or Claude. It actually knows how to educate itself.
That's that gets to you have to fundamentally like shift how you're thinking about talking to it. Cause I would never, I mean, I guess to a degree you could say like some people might, but like Steph, like, can you give me like a question that I should ask you to really like, elicit this emotion or
Yeah.
something? Like you would never talk to a human about that
Right.
and really like say, like, coach me up on how I should like ask you like it would feel unnatural to do in
Yeah.
almost all situations, right?
Yeah.
But I totally agree. Asking it for like, help me refine this prompt, right? Help me outline this thing, and then you turn the outline into a prompt, and then you just feed it right back. Like I totally agree. Like you don't have to. You can have it help you. Like think of it like you can have it next to you and on the other side of you. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
As you're engaging with it.
Yeah. So going back to automations, this is something I just recently did. I had it knowing I listed all the software I already own or I'm thinking about owning within this lane of AI and automation. So I listed off the brand names. If you have a website, give it the website in case they don't know it, but they usually do. And so you say, I use these 10 softwares, including this CRM, this whatever. And I did this recently. I said, help me build an automation for these processes using this software. The response I got was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Mm,
I mean, it's down to like, it's literally like a Tonka toy. It is telling me, okay, go to make.com, pull this integration out. Then you're going to go to FreshBooks and you're going to use these two triggers. It's literally an instruction list of how to set up the automation. So even if
mm-hmm.
you're hearing this and this feels like it's going way over your head, you can have ChatGPT tell you how to do things. It's insane. Mm-hmm. It's insane. And like the further you go down this rabbit hole, it's far and wide. It's deep. Not to get too far into the weeds, but basically it can do anything. So don't put it in a box. Think outside the box. Think about the different things that take your time. This podcast and this series, and really Spencer and I are here today to help you get your time back in 2025. because where you're in a zone of genius is where we want you to stay, much like ourselves. And when you're getting pulled into areas that are not your zone of genius, or they just really are pulling away from you being able to spend time in it, grab your bot,
Mm-hmm.
grab your automations, and make it work for you. And like Spencer said, it's you don't want to like take on this huge burden of cost. So do it judiciously. Don't be callous about it. There's a lot of people that
Yeah.
claim they have an AI solution. I never buy anything until I've actually used it in my business. And
Yeah.
like I did this recently. I looked at a ton of different CRMs because I had outgrown our original CRM, and I used trials for all of them. It was painful, but it was over the
Mm-hmm.
holidays, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But I ended up coming to the term of the one that I ended up landing on because it was just the right fit for me, and I ditched all the other ones. So I would say the same thing for AI and automations. There's a lot of tools that have free trials, or some of them are just free because they're
Yeah.
just trying to get their name out. Go that route, try it out at least a couple times before you decide to buy, is what I
Yeah.
would recommend.
Yeah.
So on the automations, the one that I recently actually had ChatGPT help me debate about and do like a compare and contrast was between Zapier and Make. I think you
Mm-hmm.
and I talked about this
Mm-hmm.
on the last time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't really give me an opinion, which kind of pissed me off, but it
Yeah.
gave me a definite like, there's the pros and cons of Zap, and here's the pro, and it actually gave me a table, which
Yeah.
I'm happy to share in the show notes if we need to. But
Yeah.
if anyone's trying to decide what automation tool to use, those are kind of the two big players. There's like three others that it had spit out for me, but if those are the two big players between Zap, which is like the OG of automation, and Make, which is kind of the new up and coming, but it's far more um,
Mm-hmm.
complex for bigger automations. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
two I think that most people use. What, you were going to say something?
Well, no, I mean, I was just, it was making me think like the cost of compute and then the cost of like memory storage, right?
Hmm.
It has just like gone, it's going down and down and plummeting. And like the power of computing is like going up exponentially or whatever, Moore's law. And I think like the time it takes and the cost it takes to like truly innovate and build like a useful tool, right? Has like has like it was already pretty low and now it's like on the floor.
Hmm.
And I honestly think like, the VC model for a lot of things is just very broken. And I think like the new normal is going to be like you build something like that's crazy valuable and like maybe it only ever gets to be like $1 million business, but
Hmm.
it's $1 million ARR business, right? Or 500K, and
Yeah.
your team of two runs it and you guys
Yeah.
make great money. And I'll like one example, I use Clean Shot, which it's like a really cool. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, and this isn't even AI, but it's something that you could build very
It's
quickly with
software.
AI, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so you've got your screenshot feature on
Hmm.
your desktop, right? You hotkey and
Yep.
screenshot.
Yep.
So it's like kind of an advanced screenshot tool where you can do a scrolling screenshot, you can record a GIF, you can record a video of just a part of a screen. You can have it like you can annotate it immediately. It's really, really nice. And especially if you use screenshots a lot or record videos, record GIFs real quickly a lot, super, super nice. And it's like, hey, you can pay $10 a month for this, or I think it was like $7 or $8 a month, or you can just pay $99 one time and have it forever.
I love the
Have the
one
license
timers.
forever.
I
Oh,
love
me
the one
too.
timers.
Me too. And I'm like, you know what? Like, especially in today's world, like how long did it really probably take them to build that? And then
Yeah.
like how much maintenance does it take to keep that software company up and running? And
Right.
I'm like, dude, these people are probably millionaires like from making this, right? Or
Yep.
maybe not. Maybe it's just like they make 50K a year off that, spend
It's like a side
3 hours a
hustle.
week
Hmm.
working. Yeah. So that kind of like micropreneurship almost that is like enabled by AI. Like I think there's going to be a lot more of that because like you don't
Oh
have to
yeah.
be like a 10 million ARR, 50 million ARR in a market of 80 billion. It's like your market can be small, but you can be the only person doing anything worthwhile in it.
Yep.
And you've got, I know a guy that built a CRM from scratch. He's got 100 customers and he's doing like 500,000 in annual revenue. It's him
Perfect.
and one other person. they're making really good money on it because the burn's low. Anyways, I could
Yeah.
keep going on that, but I'm just
No,
very
I
passionate
know.
about that.
Yeah. So trust me, there's so much to talk about in this lane that really
Mhm.
this series was a wake-up call to myself, to Spencer, and to anyone that owns a company or runs a company or is at the helm. It is time. It is time. It is out there. I mean, you can go to ChatGPT or Claude just to search what are the types of things people are using in a med tech business, or
Mhm.
any business. If you're an entrepreneur, what are the different ways people are using this? Like, don't take it from us. Do your own research, which you can do all through an LLM. But
Yep.
there are so many different options. So just speed around, and then we're going to wrap up on this today. And obviously, we're going to continue the conversation throughout the month of January to hopefully inspire and educate our audience. But speed round, a couple of the different tools that either I own already or that I have explored for various things that we have not talked about today. I mean, make.com is definitely one that
Mhm.
I did that little comparison between Zapier, which I am currently a customer of. I have their free
Mhm.
plan. You can do up to 100 automations for free. So I find like most people aren't going to do more than 100 automations. So it's technically
Yeah.
free. Make.com, the advantage is it's got a template. There's a lot of templated automations that are already done for you. And you literally just log into your different software, and it's kind of a plug and play turnkey solution. Does require a little
Mhm.
bit more of an advanced understanding, but I think it's probably the
Yeah.
future.
Mhm.
But beyond that, designer.io, and it's spelled differently. So I'll put it in the show notes. I'm not going to spell it right this second. If you have any kind of lead magnet you want to create or an ebook, it literally will write a book for you, and
Oh,
it'll
wow.
publish it even. And it's a one-timer. I don't know if it is anymore. I bought it like 2 years ago. I bought it for $49. I'll buy anything for
What?
$49.
Yeah.
It's a lifetime of ebooks. You put their topic in, you choose a template as far as the look of your book. It will literally create a flip book for you up to like
Oh my
100
gosh.
pages. It'll
That's wild.
create a flip book, a PDF. It'll put it into a Google. It'll literally publish it to KDP, which is
Oh
Kindle
my
Publishing.
gosh.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's unbelievable. Thank you to Designer, and hopefully I have an affiliate link I can throw into the show notes. But
Yeah.
I've used it for lead magnets. It's great for that. It's great for like ebooks, education, anything.
Mhm.
Designer.io, I think is the name. Another one that I just recently started using that I'm just playing around with. I'm still on this like free plan. Zeely, Zeely, is an
Mhm.
app. I think it's Zeely.app, if I recall. But
Mhm.
look in Zeely, Zeely. It's for paid ads. It'll actually create your content off of like 4 photos, and
What?
it will publish your ads for you. So you don't have to hire an ads manager. And sorry to my ads manager if you're listening to this, which
Yeah.
maybe you are, maybe you aren't. There's a lot of things out there that can take people's jobs from them and automate things that you're either paying a lot for or spending a ton of time trying to learn. And so
Mhm.
just do your research on the various ads or apps that are out there. But those are 2 that actually
Yeah.
3. So there's Zeely that I just started using, Designer that I've used for the last year and a half, which is great.
Yeah.
But I also think I think it's instantly.ai or instantly.io. I would definitely take a peek at that. It's
Yeah.
cold email outreach. But it's like on steroids compared to a
Yeah.
lot of the different tools out there.
I have 3 for
Yeah.
the speed round real quick too.
Yeah.
Um and so explodingtopics.com, you can go and see over like 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, different trends. Like I'm on it right now. It's like loop earplugs, 20K power bank, lash clusters, like, and it shows you like the frequency of that
All
search over
genres,
time.
all specialties, all
And
niches. Okay.
yes. So like think about it. Like if you're like, hey, like I am interested in this brand or making a product or investing in a company or whatever it is, like are people talking about this? Are people searching this? Right. So like
Mhm.
you could do that. Gummy search is another one. That's my second one. Gummy search, like gummy bear, GUMMY. But it
What
is
do
like
they do?
it's specific to Reddit. So it's basically your queer, you go into gummy search and you can look in these specific communities and
Mhm.
basically analyze all of the data from the posts and the comments to see like what people are talking about in the Airbnb host subreddit right? Or the podcasters or cold emailers subreddit, right? And so kind of similar to exploding topics, but just like very focused on Reddit. Because like, frankly, like if you find, and the idea is you can also see growth amongst the communities. So if you see a community that is on a topic that you maybe are looking to start a business in, and that community is going like this, and you know a lot of the people in that community are talking about this specific problem, and they can't solve it, right? You have a large growing market of
Right.
people trying to solve a specific problem
And an unmet need that's an
on
opportunity.
an unmet need.
Yeah.
So that's my other one. And then the last one, and this is kind of medtech specific, but I found it the other day. It's called Zoo, like zoos at the, animals at the zoo. And it's kind of like a engineering design software company, but they have text to CAD. So you can be, and it's a little bit, think like image creation, where it's like, you could be like, hey, give me Cinderella on the top of a pumpkin or whatever. This is like, hey, give me a orthopedic hip implant with a blah, 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 blah. And you can just describe this thing, and it will not only create the image for you, right? Like you'll be like, oh, this looks really cool on the screen, but you can download the SolidWorks file. So whenever someone's like, oh, do you have CAD models for your thing? This is going to allow people to go in and type out exactly what the parameters and the size and the length, the height, the width, all of that, and then generate a CAD model that they can then take to a design development firm. So it's really kind of accelerating that engineering and development process for non-technical, non-engineering people. But Zoo, ZOO, I think it's zoo.dev, DEV.
Got it. Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff.
That's huge. Gosh, there's so much. Like I get fired up about this though, because I feel like I hate the word identify. It's overused in this culture, but I identify as an early adopter. I've always been an early adopter. You're going to laugh, but it probably predates your arrival because I'm much older than you are. But do you remember those Nokia phones that were like
The
it
bricks?
looks like they were like bricks. They like folded in half. I think they started on some like Tom Cruise, like Born Identity, or not Born Identity. What's the one? Mission Impossible, I think was the first time they showed it. I went out and bought that stupid thing, like way before Apple even built a smartphone, which is hilarious. I should keep all of my old technology just like.
I gotta send you this video, Steph. There's like this, it was like, it's people talking. It's like before the iPhone, there was just a series of absolutely unhinged phone designs.
Horrible.
It was like the T-Mobile Sidekick.
Yes.
But like, you remember those phones where like things would slide and pivot everywhere and unfold, and it was just like insane designs.
They still make ones where the screens collapse, and I'm just like, what is the point? Like, put in your pocket.
The foldable ones do look kind of cool. I haven't ever. I mean, I'm probably.
But what's the use case? I mean,
I know.
I feel like if it doesn't have a real solution, then it's just a gimmick. But if it's actually solving a problem, then I'm all in. But yeah, so back to being an early adopter. I think, well, it's not that I think, I know, and you know, and everyone else does. This is here to stay. This is like the next coming of the internet, right? So either be the last to know or be one of the first to know, and then scale your business, scale your family, scale your personal life, whatever you can do to automate or use an artificial intelligence to make you better is
What can I want to make one point and then one kind of
make all the
thought.
points you want.
Well, the one point is it is here to stay, but do not think if you haven't already started it yet that you are like so far behind the curve. You're really not, right? We are still early.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are using it. There's a lot of people that aren't. But even still, I think like everybody's out here. There's low code. You can stand up a website very quickly, all this stuff. WordPress still has like 45% of all websites, right? Because it's just the easiest, like low code thing to use. You know what I mean? So all that to say, like, even with kind of the accelerated adoption, there's just always going to be a ton of people that are just like not ever going to use it, or going to use like the easiest option that requires the least effort ever. And so if you're leaning into this now, you're going to have a huge advantage. The parting thought I was going to have, and maybe I could come back and we could talk about this a little bit more on kind of another part of this series. But one of my favorite things to do and see, like whether it's TikTok or YouTube videos or whatever, and I'm trying to do more of this now, but like combining different kind of AI tools, whether it's with Claude or with ChatGPT and different AI tools, and saying, hey, I'm going to get Claude to give me this, and then I'm going to come over to like, Mid-Journey and have it create this.
Midjourney is another cool one that we didn't
Right.
mention. Yeah.
And then I'm going to take, or I'm going to say, ask Claude to give me the dimensionality of this thing,
Yep.
and then put that into Zoo text to CAD. But like really kind of linking these like AI
Get them to
tools and
play off of
LLMs
each other.
together.
Yeah.
Yes. Because you can just, the speed of which you can move is crazy when you do that stuff. But anyways, that's would love to talk more about like how we can kind of link and connect those things, maybe with make.com or otherwise, right? Even just manually.
Yeah. So I have an idea. So, and neither of us have like an exorbitant amount of free time, but this is fun. This is like a little hobby project. Maybe we come back and do another episode. And between now and the next episode, both of us go research either things we've already referenced and have a little bit more context to provide on like how we utilized it or implemented it into our business in 2025, and or things that we were thinking about or heard about we hadn't really explored. And we'll come back. I'll come back with my top 5 list, and Spencer, I don't want to answer for you, but hopefully you'll come back.
Yes.
You'll come back with another 5, and then we'll get like level 2, basically.
Yes.
This conversation. This was just an introduction to this series and just where we're headed in 2025. But I think next time I'll do much better on the things that I mentioned, but also a couple I didn't mention, like you'd mentioned Mid-Journey. There's also Hey Jen. There's so much. There's
I know,
so
it's
much.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That I
Yes,
actually want to
would
have
love to
like,
do that.
okay, let's do it. Let's do it for sure. And obviously, if you're listening and you like what we're talking about, comment, subscribe, follow, all of the above, because that's what makes us keep going. But Spencer, it's always fun to talk to you.
Yeah, no, same, Steph. This was really cool. And like I was gonna say, make sure you put those in the show notes, and like before this even comes out, like I want you to send them to me, because there was a couple of those that I was like I hadn't heard of those, so I need to get access.
Same, right back at you.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah. And so anyway, thank you again for everyone that's listening or watching, and we'll stay tuned. We'll be back with our top 5 from each of us and next level.